Hi, everybody, and welcome to Pop Therapy, a podcast where we explore the intersection between psychology and pop culture. There's so much to unpack, so let's get started. Well, look who's come back. Welcome. This is Omar, your friendly neighborhood therapist, and I don't have a ton to say before we bring our guest in, but there is one thing I wanted to talk about, or share rather. It's something that I discuss with clients often, and I don't remember if I've shared it on the podcast yet. If I have, forgive me. I'm already forgetting things that I've said, and I've done, 2 episodes, and I'm already like, what did I say? So forgive me. But in any case, one of the things I find myself saying often in sessions, it's like a reminder. I will remind clients to lower the stakes. So often clients will come in with a question, an issue, some source of tension, and I regularly remind them, let's start out by lowering the stakes. Now, there's a comedian, Mary Beth Barone, who I really, really like, who kind of has a similar approach. She often says, could anything matter less? And it's a variation of lower the stakes. I kind of love that. So whichever one works for you, but I think it serves as a really good reminder when we're freaking out about something. And this is meant for more like a micro kind of day-to-day life stuff. I am not talking about what's going on in the world. That maybe is a little bit different, or what's going on politically and all of that. This is more for day-to-day stuff, like what's maybe happening at work, or with what's happening with your partner or a loved one or friends. If you are beating yourself up because you said something weird or out of pocket at a party, I think that's a good example of reminding yourself, I need to lower the stakes, and or could anything matter less in this moment? And I find that when I say that to clients, there's sort of this instant sense of relief. It's like it almost gives them permission in that moment to take a breath and sort of reorient themselves to the situation, to the scenario, and to come at it from a much more grounded, calmer place. So I'm going to remind y'all of this in the same way that I remind all of my clients, because I think it's worth reminding. I think it's worth saying. I also think it's worth saying, with that being said, right? Like, I know there's a lot going on in the world. I really do think everything is going to be okay. It's going to be hard. Don't get me wrong. It's going to get hard. It is hard. But I don't know why. I just feel like it's going to be okay. I have a feeling or a sense that we are going to come out the other end of this a little bruised up, a little beaten up for sure. But I think the stronger for and closer together. I really, really do think that, for what it's worth. There's a lot of reasons to feel a sense of hopelessness and a sense of doom. And I just want to say, I think we're going to be okay, for what it's worth. I think it'll be all right. So with that being said, I am so excited to introduce our next guest. I'm going to let him introduce himself to you guys, but I mean, I guess it's worth saying this is my boyfriend's brother, and that's not why I invited him on. He does have other things to talk about. He started his own YouTube channel, but it's in the booktube world. So this is someone that I think y'all are really going to like, especially because reading is super cool. And as RuPaul says, reading is fundamental. So please welcome into your hearts, Charlie Russo.
Hello.
Hi, welcome.
Hi. Thank you. Yeah, it's funny. I was genuinely going to start this by saying that if you know who I am at all, it is probably because I'm Mike Russo's brother.
Yeah.
Genuinely that. My whole life I've been Mike Russo's brother.
Yeah. I mean, but now you're Charlie Read a Book.
I am Charlie read a book or Charlie read a book, depending on how you read it. There's a lot of contention in my circles.
Ooh, there's already drama around
There's
your
drama.
YouTube.
Yep. I didn't think of it when I chose the name. I think I mostly say, yeah, Charlie read a book.
Charlie
Past
read a book.
tense.
That's so funny. I think of it
but
more confrontationally, like Charlie, read a book. You know,
a lot of people do. Yeah,
because that's a thing. That's like an insult when someone is being just like inappropriate or kind of insane or really ignorant. You're just like, read a book. Like it's almost like go touch grass. It's like that of that vein of insult. But you're Charlie read a book. That's actually much nicer. I appreciate that.
It's nicer. Yeah, I think at different times I think of myself as different ones. Like depending on the video that I'm making, if I'm talking about books that I've read, I'm Charlie read a book. If I'm talking about books that I'm about to read, I'm Charlie read a book. Like Charlie's gonna read that book. And then I have my buddy reads, and it's on some app called Fable that people can join and like read books with me, and it's called Charlie Buddy Read a Book, or like Charlie Buddy Read a Book. I guess I still never know.
Yeah,
but yeah, that's who
it's
I am.
Up to the fans. It's up to the fans.
Exactly.
You know what they say? It's like once you make art, it doesn't belong to you anymore. It belongs to the fans now. So yeah, it's read a book or read a book. It's totally up to you.
Exactly.
Speaking of, so talk a little bit about your YouTube channel. Talk a little bit about like the origin story of this channel. Why did you do this? What was going on for you at the time? What led to this?
Yeah. So I've been doing it now for a little over a year. Yeah, a little over a year. I had my anniversary video not too long ago. And I think at the time I had gotten I got back into reading probably a year or two before that. The friend recommended a book and I picked it up, and I got sucked in. It was like the first time in years that I really like went for it in a book and like couldn't put it down.
That is so surprising to hear. Sorry to cut you off. When I first met you, I just assumed you had been reading like that out the gate, like out of the womb with a book. I just assumed because you were such a voracious reader and you had so many books and you knew about so many books, I just assumed, he must have been doing this since day one. So it's fascinating to hear and surprising to hear that actually this was something later on in life that...
Yeah, well, it's a little bit of both, actually. Yeah. So I did read a lot as a kid. And then like a lot of people, school just totally tanked that for me. Like reading things that I felt like I had to read.
Thanks a lot.
It was like, okay, well, I don't care about that. I'm not going to do that.
I don't care about books. Catcher in the Rye. I do not care about you, Holden Caulfield. You are weird. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I've never read that. I think it's my sister's like favorite book of all time. And
oh my God, I'm so sorry, Anna Rose. It's the best book ever. Just kidding. I love it.
Yeah, I have never read it, and there's a lot of books like that where it's just. I thought after a while, like, I just don't like this. But then I every now and then I remember like, well, I used to love it. I used to read all the time. And I, there are some books that I read from school that I liked, like Holes. I think I read Holes, the Louis Sachar.
Yeah.
I think I read that 5 times back to back, like cover to cover.
Right.
In a row. Like I loved it. I don't know. I loved that book. And there's a few books like that like really stood out when I was a kid. I read them a ton and I read a lot. But then, I took a long break. And then when I got back into it in like college, it was like, maybe a book a month, maybe a book every few months.
Yeah.
And it was, I think because I was looking in the wrong place, because, there's the books you read at school are the books that you are being forced to read, right?
Yeah.
And then there's also there's books that you think that you should read, or at least I have that all the time. Like I should like this book. I should read this. Everybody's talking about this. You go into a bookstore and this is the first book you see. And so I was going for a lot of those and it really didn't work. And so I would try every now and then, but it just never stuck. Comic books, I've had a lot.
Oh, hell yeah.
More those work for me better, right? And so I don't know why, but it took me like 20 something years of my life to figure out that like, oh wait, if I like comic books, like maybe like the superhero comic books that I read or like, sci-fi comic books that I read, maybe I should read the book version of that and like stop going for literary fiction and start going for fantasy.
Right. I really appreciate you saying that because I had a similar experience with reading where I remember reading a bunch as a little kid, especially about dinosaurs. I was obsessed reading about dinosaurs. And then school happened. And then they're like, you have to read these sort of like American literary classics. And not that anyone ever told me this. The impression I got was, okay, so this is the foundation of American literature. Like, this is the creme de la creme. These stories invented books is like sort of my impression. So I thought, well, okay, this is how books are. Then this is how good, quote unquote, this is what a good book is. And similarly, I was so uninterested and quite frankly, kind of bored by a lot of it. I mean, I understand the story of like Great Gatsby, and I understand like the themes of like class and stuff like that, and those are great themes to talk about. I could not care less about what was going on and who died and who didn't, and I was just like, I just need to get through this book. And I thought this is how books were. So hearing that, and I think a lot of people, I'm assuming a lot of people feel similarly, and I thought, oh, okay, I guess books are not for me.
Yep, it is a lot of people. It's a lot of people that I talk to, a lot of people that are, in my comments and stuff like that. They are just getting back into reading, or they're just finding out that, that they're really into this hobby, right? Because that's what it is, right?
Yeah.
But it's through the channel, I think, very often of finally figuring out that that's not what books are necessarily, right? And there's a lot of like shade that gets thrown at a lot of the kinds of books that I read, because I read a very wide range of genres, but
yeah.
But primarily, I'm locked in on fantasy, and there's
Hell yeah.
a lot of people. There's circles of people that just don't think of that as literature, right?
Yeah.
They just don't. They don't. It doesn't count. It's not a high enough caliber of book. Like the writing's not up to snuff.
Is it not like serious enough? What do you think?
Yeah, I guess it's not intellectual. Or I don't know.
Okay.
A lot of people look down on it, and I just like. I hate that for you, honestly. Like if
Totally.
you're that person, like I'm so sorry. I don't.
For real.
I take nothing away from you enjoying the books that you read, right? That's totally fine. I don't judge you for that. I do judge you for judging people for the books that they want to read,
right?
Because literally, who cares?
Right.
I don't care.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
Literally, pun intended. Literaturally,
literaturally, yeah. Yeah. So that was my gateway in was fantasy, was Brandon Sanderson, who is like widely regarded as a gateway author for the fantasy genre. Or I don't know if that's how people would say it, but a lot of people say or like credit him with like, oh yeah, that's the guy that got me back into reading. It's much the same as like there's what's her name? Rebecca Yarros. Rebecca Yarros, and
like the Fourth Wing.
Yeah,
series.
Sarah J. Maas.
The
ACOTAR. A lot of people. Those series are massive, but it's a lot of people's introduction to fantasy. It's romantasy is like what you could call it, right? It's romance, but it's set in fantasy worlds. It's a lot of people's entry point into fantasy, and a lot of people do branch off from that, and they start with romance, then they'll go to romantasy, then they'll just try fantasy, and they're like, oh wait, like. That's really solid, or they'll just stick to romantasy because there's a ton of romantasy out there.
Right.
And for me, it was fantasy. And I think that it helped me to get just back into the flow of reading by reading the books that I genuinely was enjoying. The page turners, some of them are easier to read. Some of them are harder to read, right? A lot of, these fantasy books with very flowery prose and stuff like that, like the complex stuff, but it also gave me the leeway to try other genres just by being comfortable in a book again, which it was a long time where I couldn't pick up a book anymore. I just like I pick it up and I'm bored because in my memory I'm bored. I'm bored of this.
You've already made this association between books and boredom that was like really difficult. It was like really solidified until what I also really appreciate, and I hope other people that hear this not only integrate this into their own thinking about their relationship with reading, but with their kids, is like how you took comic books and you were like, wait a minute, what if book? actually. Like, wait a minute, there's something right. That people also write books about heroes, about like, good versus evil with like magic and powers, and comics were like breadcrumb trails that led you to books.
Yep. And they've always been there. Comic books have always
Yeah.
been like a part of it. So it's a little ridiculous that I didn't follow that trail sooner, but it got to the point where I was like realizing like, wait, I don't just like these because of the pictures. Like, it's not a picture book.
Right.
There are themes, there is a plot. There is a story here. I care about these characters. I'm feeling things when this character dies. I'm rooting for people. There's a lot more to it. And so that's the story, right? It's it's the same with everything, I guess. Movies, TV shows, video games.
Yeah.
There's a lot of story to all of it. You're not there just for the fact that you're holding a controller.
Right.
Some games, yes. Some books, yes. Some of everything, yeah. It is just to turn your brain off. And I do think we use those things or at least I know that I use TV, I use movies, I use books, I use video games, all for very different things for my brain, but yeah, finding your way back to it is important. Knowing that, or being able to have a space within that hobby that will just tickle your brain in the right way for what you need in that moment. It's just I like that. I'm glad that I found my way back. So I guess I'm still answering how I got back into reading. And you asked how I got back into the channel, but I swear it's all related.
No, it's all related. Yeah, I'm following. Yeah. We are all following.
So I did. I got back into reading in a big way, and I was reading a lot. And like I said, it's a lot of fantasy books, and I don't know a lot of people in my real life that read a lot of fantasy books. I have like one friend that an in real life friend that reads fantasy books. He's the one that recommended me that first Brandon Sanderson book, The Final Empire. The Final Empire. Wow. So he's like, he's the only one. So I was taking all of my brain space that I was allocating to reading these books, and I was putting it into the internet because I was watching people on YouTube that were talking about these books, and it was like a way for me to kind of have those conversations without having those conversations in sort of,
I see. Right.
And then through watching these people talk about books, one of them, Andrew Watson, is the name of this YouTuber who I loved his content, and he had mentioned that he had a Discord server. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to join Discord for the first time. I've never done that. It's just like a chat room online, right? But I did. I joined it, and it was just full of nerds. It's just a bunch of people online talking about books, the books that I read, the books that I like, and like having full conversations about it. And that's cool. And then I spent a lot of time there. And at a certain point, he had mentioned something to somebody about like a private channel that is for content creators.
Okay.
And I DM'd him for, I think the first time, I think it was the first message that I sent him. And I was like, hey, I am not a content creator, but can you just like let me in anyway?
Yeah.
And he was like,
let me in. Yeah.
Whatever. And so he did. So it was like a bunch of content creators, like a bunch of YouTubers and Instagram people, like BookTube and Bookstagram, I guess. And then me. And little old me was there for almost a year, just talking to people about their content. Even though
that's awesome.
Every now and then they'd be like, "Charlie, you don't even go here." Like,
and you are.
But eventually they talked me into it. So then I started doing it, and I've been having a ton of fun with it.
That's lovely. So a lot of the motivation to start the channel was because you had people, essentially like fellow nerds. Just so we're clear, I use the word nerd lovingly. That is not in a pejorative way at all. I love nerds. I am a nerd. So it was basically your people, your fellow nerds saying, you should do this. You can do this. Like go forth and create and talk about this thing that you love on YouTube. So you had this like cheering section, I guess you could say, like just like people rooting for you, being like, go do that is sounds like was a big part of the motivation to start the channel.
A huge part. I think that's it's something that I think about a lot. And I guess I talk about this sort of thing a lot, but it's exactly that. It's just do it. Just do the thing. Just do the thing that you want to do, because you can't do it until you do it.
Right.
You can't know that if you like
Right.
it unless you try to do it. So just do it. And the stakes are so low. So what matters, right? Like what you were saying
Right.
at the beginning, there are no stakes.
Right.
There is literally nothing bad
Could
can come of
not be
it.
lower. The stakes could not be lower. That's what I kept
Yeah.
having to remind myself when I was creating the podcast. Was like, the stakes could not be lower. You could do one episode and then change your mind and never do it again and say, okay, well, I gave that a shot.
Mhm.
And that was
Yep.
part of what helped me actually do it.
Absolutely. But it's funny because the other side of that is like I was editing my first video and I remember I messaged the group there and I was like, I hear my two things that I'm scared about right now.
Uh-huh.
Like above anything else in the world right now, I am terrified that nobody is going to watch this.
Yeah.
Like absolutely, like, because that's mortifying to me. I was like, I'm going to get 3 views. It's going to be you and my mom. and that's terrifying to me.
Yeah.
But then I was like, but equally as terrifying, I am terrified that somebody's going to watch this.
Yeah. Oh,
It's like,
totally.
you know what I
Yes.
mean? Like
Yes.
that was terrifying to me. I was like, I don't want anybody to see this, but I will be heartbroken if nobody sees this.
Yeah. Isn't that inner sort of conflict, I think, is incredibly common. And you sort of have to step in and be the mediator to those two parts. The part that is so scared that no one's going to watch, and then the part that is terrified that lots of people are going to watch. How did you reconcile those two parts of yourself? Like, how did you step in and say, like, okay, let's figure something out here?
Honestly, it was other people.
Yeah,
I don't know
totally. It takes a village.
I voiced
for real.
that. I voiced that to the group, and they were all like, well, they reminded me that it doesn't matter, that it doesn't matter, and that they'll watch it, they'll enjoy it, and they also reminded me that, like, everybody that I've watched started like that too.
Totally.
Right. And it was when I was fresh into this, I feel like because of how much time I spent watching YouTube, I guess, I see these people on the internet and they're not people, they're celebrities.
Right.
Even though it's like, they're just, YouTube is as far from that as anything else.
Yeah.
Or at least the booktube most of the time is tiny little channels. It's just people talking in their basement to the video camera.
Yeah.
And that's it. And reminding me that they not only did they all start there, they're all people, but they're also that I could be the person that somebody was for me, which is just a channel, just somebody to talk to. And I think, that's kind of how I structure not structure, but how I think of my channel when I come down here to film videos. And I don't do much of an outline. I don't do much planning. I don't, I try not to set any expectations. I just sit here and I have a conversation with the camera, because I think that's what a lot of people get out of this is a conversation, even though it's a one-sided conversation, like, verbally, only one person is talking. It's still a conversation. You're thinking that conversation as you're watching. You're like, oh, I totally agree with this
and
person.
the audience
right?
is responding in some, even though obviously you can't hear it right? And so, like, they can respond, obviously, with leaving a comment. That's like one way of responding. But even in the moment, because I do this when I'm listening to a podcast, watching a video, I'm saying things either in my head or out loud. So while it is technically one-sided, it is also technically kind of a conversation. So yeah, I hear you.
Absolutely. There's what is it? What's a mukbang? Is that what it's called? It's the thing where people
eating
food.
A bunch of food.
Yeah. So eating a bunch of food is like what it is now, right? Like that's what we think of it now as, is like people eating way too much food on camera. And it's funny or something. I never watched it. I never really understood it, but I know, or at least I think that I know, that where that started was people were literally lonely and wanting somebody to eat dinner with. And it was literally just watching people eat dinner to feel like you have somebody overeating food. And that is in my head a lot, is like, I just want to be that person that if somebody wants to have a conversation about a book, they can come here and talk to me about a book. They can just hang out with me.
Yeah.
And that's what I like. That's the kind of content that I watch. That's the kind of content that I want to create. And so that's what I've been doing.
What I think people, I don't know what people think really, but I tend to think of reading books as such a solitary experience. What you're talking about sounds much more like community based. Honestly, it sounds so much more social hearing you talk about it. And it's such a good reminder, because hearing you talk about it, I'm thinking, oh, right. It is something you share with people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even just the experience of, I just finished this book, I'm obsessed with it, you have to read it, right? And the experience of sharing books and trading books or talking about books, again, there's potential for such a community-based experience when it comes to books that it sounds like you are tapping into that quite intentionally, quite thoughtfully. Do you feel that as well? Like, do you feel the social community part of it as well?
Absolutely. And I think that's part of probably why I got to it also is, where was I in my life when I started this channel, was that we had moved away from a lot of our friends in the city, right? We had moved back into the suburbs, and we had a baby, and we weren't able to go out much anymore. And, our friends were further, our time was further, we were further away from having free time is what I mean by that. And it's definitely, I was seeking that community, and I found it. And then I wanted to contribute back to it, I guess, in more of a way than just, talking to people on the internet through the Discord server, like, with my fingers and my keys, and just do it more face to face, sort of through a screen.
And I know through all this work that you're doing with your channel and the friends that you've made, that you've actually been meeting some of these in real life, like the people that you develop these relationships with, either on Discord or online or wherever, that through your travels, you've actually been meeting some of them. And it sounds so touching, and like such a touching and heartwarming experience. How did it feel for you?
Yeah, it was super cool. The people that I know online the best through all of this point know me very well, because it's been a couple of years, but they all live very far away.
Yeah.
It's just, we're connected through the internet. So a lot of them are over in the UK. And so we were taking a trip out to London, and a bunch of them got to me in various different ways.
That's cool.
Made it into London. Yeah, we got to meet, we had dinner, and then we stayed. A couple of them opened up a bookstore like an hour, a little outside of London, like to the south in Tunbridge Wells. Station Books, if you're in the area, if you're local to Tunbridge Wells. Okay.
A nice little
over
plug.
to Station Books.
Yeah, hell yeah.
It's a lovely bookshop. Totally unbiased. It's genuinely a fantastic bookshop. But they opened up that bookshop, and I won't visit it. So we stayed by them. And so we got to get dinner with them a few more times, hang out with them a few more times. And it was really very, very, very cool. Seeing these people in real life was awesome.
Yeah.
It was cool to put, a lot of these people are YouTubers, a lot of these people that I know. So I've seen them, I've seen their faces, I've heard them talk, I've seen all of that.
From like fandom to friendship almost. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. It was cool to make them real people. Yeah. Nobody's real.
Yeah. Well, because you don't know, right? How much of themselves are they bringing to their YouTube channel? You never quite know. And so I'm sure seeing them in real life, you get a much more like, this might sound weird, but like immersive experience. There's like connection, right? Like a much more like human. Yeah. That's one of the, I think we need to hear more stories in general about the internet working really well, bringing people together. This is one of those examples that I'm glad you're sharing, where you develop these relationships online at first, and to some degree, maybe it feels a little parasocial even at first, to then, have a trip, make a trip, go to London, meet these folks in real life, and solidify the relationship or like strengthen the bond even more. I appreciate it. I like hearing stories like that, because the internet can be a very scary place, obviously. And
it's the worst.
And right now it seems like there's more tension than ever. So hearing this, like, the internet actually bringing people together, strengthening relationships is like, oh, that right. The internet can do that. Right. Good to know. Good to know.
The internet got me married, honestly, before.
Oh yeah,
that's
right.
I started this. The internet got me a wife. A couple kids,
more friends, more books. Hell yeah.
Yep.
So you've had your channel, Charlie read a book, or Charlie read a book.
Whatever you want.
Whatever you want. It's up to the fans. For a little over a year now. Is that right? A little over a year.
A little over a year. Yep.
As you looking back on that, any surprises? Is there anything that you're like, oh wow, this thing that you think of, you're like, oh, I'm like surprised by this? Or does it feel very like, yeah, it's all sort of things that I expected that I'm really happy with? Anything come to mind?
With the channel itself?
With the channel itself and the experience of like, having this like internet baby. You have babies. So, but having this technological baby that you have to take care of essentially and grow, looking back on it, any surprises, anything that sticks out?
Yeah, I think so. I think the number one surprise is that I'm still doing it. If you talk to me 5 minutes after my first upload, I'd have been like, I don't know if I'm going to do this again. And then here I am, a little over a year later, and I'm still doing it. I'm still having fun doing it. I think I'm surprised too that anybody is watching it. That anybody is. It's a small channel, but it's getting bigger as time goes on. Every time I put out a video, it grows a little bit. I'm surprised that we talked about the community building of it, but I do feel genuinely like there is a community building around the channel. Every now and then people reply to other people that I see in my comments. People will talk to each other in the comments, and I love that. Buddy reads that I do. At this point, I'm starting to do them monthly. It started, I just did one, and then a couple months later I did another one because a few people joined, and more people are joining them as I go, and that's really cool. Like, people are voting when I put up a poll, like, what do we want to read next month? And like, you get a bunch of votes, and it's like, oh, cool. Like, somebody else just made that decision for me. And now that, 20 people voted on that, so they're going to join this buddy read and read that book with me. And now I have that conversation locked and loaded, that's ready to go. And that's cool. So that's all surprising. I guess it's surprising that it's working in a way. And yeah, I guess that's it. And it's also, it's also surprising. I'm not any better at it than I was when I started.
That's not true.
No, it is. The production side of it, it takes me just as long to film my videos. I still stutter. I still trip over myself as I talk. I
vocal warm-ups. We were talking, audience, we were talking about that before we were like recording. Charlie is the first guest where I did vocal warm-ups before our episode. So I was like, so get ready, Charlie, because I'm about to blow your mind. And he was like, okay. Sure. But maybe vocal warm-ups I highly recommend.
I'll give it a go.
Or not. Honestly, it might be part of the charm. I mean, I don't think anyone. It might be part of what endears you to people. You know what I mean? So
maybe. Yeah. I did think it would all get easier. I thought I'd get to a point where I could just I'll sit down. I'm going to film my 15-minute video. And then I'm just going to upload it. Trim the start, peasy. Trim the end, push. It's done. But no, I cannot record for less than an hour and a half, and then my editing is double that at least.
Gosh,
because there's just, and I don't do anything. My videos are not very complicated. I'm sitting here talking, but it's just hard.
Yeah, I hear you. So real quick, I do want just like for folks who want to start reading, especially like fantasy books, they're so, like you mentioned earlier, romantasy is like really big. I don't necessarily know if it's like really big right now or it's always been really big and people are catching on to it. What do you think sort of like everyone's like the cultural response to romantasy right now? What do you think that's a reflection of? Like, do you think people, I don't know. Do you think this is like I'm being hyperbolic here, but is this like a recession indicator? Is this like everyone going out for getting labubu's? Is it that? Or do you think that there's something else behind this like resurgence? And it feels like a resurgence to me, of course, but you tell me like, no, maybe this has always been huge, but we're just hearing about it now. What are your thoughts?
I think my thoughts on that are it's complicated. So I genuinely just think I think this happens in waves. I don't think this is the first time that romance has been huge.
Of course. Right.
I think it comes and it goes, but I think it comes and goes with the age of the audience. I think we grew up with Harry Potter, right?
Right.
The people that are reading ACOTAR now, a lot of them read the Harry Potter when they were kids.
Oh, okay.
And then they forgot that they like fantasy.
Right.
And they grew up and they started being interested in romance in their own life and in their media, like watching rom-coms on TV, going to see these, movies that were romance focused, and like stuff like that. And that's cool. And then eventually they started reading romance novels, Colleen Hoover is out there. There's a lot of romance authors out there. I don't know why I named one. But then they found like, oh yeah, fantasy still does exist, right? And it's not just Harry Potter. It's Disney, right?
Sure, right. Totally.
ACOTAR is Beauty and the Beast. The first book, A Court of Thorns and Roses. Book one is essentially, I don't know if it was intended like this, but I imagine it was intended. It's essentially Beauty and the Beast retelling.
Oh, I had no idea. Okay.
If you read that series, which I've only read the first book and I've heard it from there, it goes it's way different. But the first book it's very Beauty and the Beast coded, right?
Yeah.
And so Disney kids, Harry Potter kids, they're remembering that they like fantasy and then they're merging that with things that they know that they already like. That's where I think romantasy comes in, because it's just fun and people are learning how to have fun again.
Thank God. It's about time. Yeah. I think this is a good reminder that we all want a little bit of magic, right? Like we all just want a little bit of magic in our stories, in our lives, and we all want a little bit of whimsy and we all want a little bit of fun, all wrapped up into one. And I don't necessarily think that is unique to now, given how tense things might be feeling in the world. I think we've always wanted this, and and maybe it comes and goes in waves depending on what's going on in the world. But I think we all want a little bit of magic in our lives. And I think this serves as a good reminder of how important it is to inject a little bit of magic and fun and whimsy in your own life, whether it's through a book or a movie or what have you. But I think it touches on something very like primal in us, like the desire for that,
Absolutely. I think I touched on it earlier, but like I use books for different things than I use movies, I was saying. And I think I use books, especially like the fantasy books that I read. Like you said, things are hard in real life. I don't go to books for that mostly. Like when I'm reading, I go for the escapism piece of it. Like that's why you read fantasy and romantasy. It's the escapism pieces. It's like a little bit of just like, I'm just going to go get lost in a book for a couple hours and I'm not going to think about the real world. Yeah. And sometimes you need that. Sometimes you get a book that will do that for you, because I also have used books to help me process my own emotions. I used to do that a lot in college. I was feeling things and I didn't have words for them. Yeah. And so I would read books about people feeling things and having words for them.
Gotcha.
Being like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah. That was helpful.
Same. Yeah.
I don't do that anymore. Now I don't want to hear about it. I know the words. I know what this is called.
I got the words. Yeah. No
Give
more.
Me a wizard. Yeah. Wizard with a gun. Quick. Stat.
Speaking of, what are you reading anything right now that you are really loving and enjoying and getting lost in?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh my God. Do please share.
I'm reading a ton of series that are fantastic. I think I'm in the midst of 23 different series right now, last I checked.
Okay.
But again, for different reasons, if I want my brain to turn off, I'm going Dresden Files, even though Dresden Files is a little bit problematic in its objectification of women. It was written a long time ago. I'm not justifying it, but yeah. Anyway,
just a heads up, just a little heads up for everyone.
A little heads up. If you're going into that, just know,
brace yourself.
The male gaze is in there.
Okay.
But then there's Dungeon Crawler Carl is having a moment right now.
Okay.
If you are into RPGs, it's called a literary RPG. So it's a role-playing game in a book. You would. I would love that. Dungeon Crawler Carl. It's
Dungeon
fantastic.
Crawler Carl. Okay, great.
Yeah. Dungeon Crawler Carl. It's so good, so fun, and it's just again, you can sink into it and just turn everything off. There's other things where the books that I'm reading right now, it's a spooky mood, so I'm reading horror books right now.
Ooh.
Which brought me back to like vampires with a couple books that I've read. One that everybody should be reading if you like vampires at all. Christopher Bjornman is an author that I think everybody should be reading.
Okay,
he has
good to know.
Written one vampire book. Actually, he might have written two, but I've read one of his. It's called The Lesser Dead. Fantastic
The Lesser
vampire book.
Dead. Okay.
But outside of that, just
I'm writing this
anything
down.
Christopher Bjornman writes. Christopher Bjornman is, I think at this point, I can safely say he's one of my favorite authors of all time.
Whoa,
if you haven't read his stuff,
okay.
I just think it hits different. I don't know. And there's different things for it too. Like different, he can hit you in different places for different moods. He's got, if you want something like light and like funny and like kind of feels like a D&D campaign.
Yeah.
The Black Tongue Thief is fantastic. It's so fun. And then he wrote a prequel story to that, which you can kind of read as a standalone if you want. That's like a very somber, sapphic, a little bit like retelling, or not retelling. Kind of a retelling of like a war, like a dark war in this world that he creates. And
Somber and sapphic, sign my ass up. Yeah.
It's like heartbreaking. It deals with like a lot of the brutalities of war, and it's obviously in this fantasy world, but it's very raw. And it was beautifully written. That was the first book that I read in a long time where I like had to pause and like reread chapters at a time just because I was like, I need to take that in again.
I need to like process this more deeply.
And just hear it again. Like he narrates the audiobooks for a lot of his books, and he does such a good job. He's got like a little bit of an acting background. He does like the author does I think like Ren fairs or something like that. He like is a little bit of an actor in
so he commits. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. He puts a lot of feeling into it. He's got like songs in there that he'll sing on the audiobook that are really good too.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. He's got Between Two Fires too, is like, if you want a little bit of like a bubonic plague era Christian mythology type of story.
Okay.
Check the trigger warnings for that one. It deals with some stuff.
Yeah.
But it's so good.
Okay.
He's so good.
Okay.
Everybody should check out Christopher Bjornman. Big fan.
Those are wonderful recommendations. You touched on so many different, like, it's all kind of fantasy, but like there's like a little fantasy horror, a little more like fantasy, like things that are a little darker, a little bit more whimsical, you want vampires, you got vampires. So that's like, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm going to try to put links to all of your recommendations in the episode. So wish me luck, audience, because I don't know if I know how to do that. So, but I'm going to try to figure it out. So one question, Charlie, that I like to ask all my guests is, what is one thing from the mental health / therapy world that you take with you everywhere you go? It could be a piece of wisdom or a piece of advice that you got from a book, from a podcast, from a movie, something from, your own therapist, wherever, but something that you're like, this is a piece of wisdom that I'm going to take with me everywhere I go. This is like at the core of how I navigate life.
Yeah, I think I gave this one a lot of thought because I know you asked this question to all of your people, and I kept coming back to this one little section, like a little excerpt from a book. The book I didn't even love, but this part.
Wait,
really
do you mind sharing?
Is
it okay if you share the book?
Absolutely. Yeah. Lincoln in the Bardo by George Saunders is one of the most pretentiously written books I've ever. The structure of it, the format of it. I rambled about it for like 45 minutes in a video once, so I won't do it again here. I hate the way this book was written, but the words in it were great. The story was really well done.
Okay.
The story was well put together, but the execution in the actual physical book, bad. Anyway, going on from that, the quote, and this kind of circles back to a lot of what we talked about, honestly, but I think about this a lot now, and this helped me to figure out how to think about a lot of things. I think, like I said, it's a little excerpt. So you don't really need to know what's happening, but essentially there's two characters, they want to do something. Or one of them wants to do something. Something bad is happening. One of them wants to do something, and the other is like, we can't do that.
Okay.
We don't know what's going to happen. We can't do that.
Right.
And so the other's response is, friend, we are here, already here, within. A train approaches a wall at a fatal rate of speed. You hold a switch in your hand that accomplishes you know not what. Do you throw it? Disaster is otherwise assured. It costs you nothing. Why not try? I love that.
That's
why not
fantastic.
Try?
Yeah, why not try? Yeah. You know that doing nothing is going to be a disaster. So why not hit the switch and see what happens, hope for the best, give it a shot? Why not try? I love that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I feel like there's times when you're on that train too, you know, and you are at the controls, and you can sit on the couch and just rot,
right?
If you want, you know,
right.
That's what you do every night.
Yeah,
you know that's gonna end. You're gonna feel terrible about it. Get up, do something.
Yeah, why
try
not
something?
Try? Oh wow, I really appreciate that. I feel like there are variations of the why not try, and not every variation of that works for everybody. And so for some people, you know, the could anything matter less, or the just do it, or the lower the stakes, it like works for them. And so my hope is that the why not try, that resonates with the people, where the other things I've shared, like, it doesn't really resonate with them. But maybe it's this, it's you have the switch. Why not try? Like, the train's going. The train's going. So why not try? I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. This has been wonderful. Thank you for taking the time. Again, I don't think I mentioned this earlier, audience, but Charlie's like 2 seconds away from having a baby. So him taking the time for this baby number 2. So you taking the time to do this, I appreciate this so much. Make sure that you give Naomi my love. Shout out Naomi, his wife, his baby mama.
Baby mama.
and good luck. And thank you so much. Where can people find you? Folks that want to get more recommendations about books for you, or for folks that just want to hear you talk about books all day long, because they're looking for the conversational piece element in their life when it comes to books. Where can they find you?
Right now, YouTube is the place to go. YouTube, I'm there. I'm Charlie Read a Book, or Charlie Read a Book. It's written the same way. That's where I am. I also, from there, you'll find links to my Goodreads if you just want to track my books. There's links to my Fable if you want to join my buddy reads. Everything's free. I'm a tiny channel. I'm not trying to charge anything. So, that's where you can find me. Yeah,
fantastic.
I think going to start an Instagram soon, but I'm also, like you said, 2 seconds away from having a baby, so maybe adding more is not.
Yeah, you can.
Maybe I'll wait.
Maybe later. Hold your horses.
So for
That's
now,
okay.
just YouTube.
That's wonderful. Thank you again so much for joining us. Yeah, so everybody, I am a therapist, but this podcast is no substitute for good old-fashioned therapy. So take what's useful, leave the rest, and don't forget, therapy makes you hotter. Bye.